What's up everyone? Today we're gonna make some pizza. I love making pizza. It is one of my favorite things to do. To be honest with you, since I started making my own pizza, I actually find ordering it in just not as satisfying. Do this at your own risk. If you do make your own pizza, you may not want to order in pizza ever again. You may just want to make it. So if you're lazy, maybe don't. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put on our apron. And just like that, we're ready to cook. First thing that we need to do is we need to make the dough. Ingredients for the dough are 3/4 cup of warm water, 1 teaspoon of dry active yeast, 2 cups of your preferred flour, and we're going to talk a little bit about that here in a second, and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Now, my preferred yeast that I use is the Rapid Rise. I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce the brand name there. Rapid Rise bread yeast. I do prefer this. It works really well, and it works quickly. And the flour that we're using today is the Double-Lot pizza flour from King Arthur's. I have made my pizza dough with many different flours, and honestly, I think this actually produces the best so far. I'm continuously experimenting with all of my pizza recipes and everything, and for right now, this is my favorite, but I'm going to try some more. First step in making the dough is adding the warm water. Once the warm water has been added, then we add our active yeast. Once the active yeast has been added, I like to go ahead and just give it a little bit of mix inside my mixer. Though sometimes it likes to clump up real bad like it did this time. Usually it mixes pretty evenly. Since it clumped up real bad this time, I'm actually going to use a fork to go ahead and just kind of break it up. Now that the yeast has broken up and mixed in with the water pretty well, I'm just going to let it sit for a couple minutes and let it fully hydrate and activate. Now that it is fully activated and looks a little frothy, then you know it's ready to add the rest of the ingredients. First thing I'm going to add is my flour. You can go through and add a little bit at a time and get it going, but honestly, I haven't noticed any real difference in between doing it slow versus just dumping it all in and doing it all at the same time. So, it's up to you. Give it a try. Now I'm going to add my salt. Now that everything is in, I'm going to go ahead and set it to mix. Now this is one I like to start slow. Once it's mixed together, I like to then go ahead and bump up the speed so that it actually helps knead it really well. Once I've done it in the mixer for a couple minutes to get it fully, homogeneous, I like to finish it by hand. It feels right to me. You don't have to. You can use it. You can do it entirely in your mixer, but I like to do it by hand because I like to feel it. It kind of speaks to me and lets me know when it's done. So, if this is something that you want to try, always start with a clean, flat surface. Now, I have this beautiful island that I use. First thing we're going to do is pour some of our flour onto the surface. Now, I like to do it where my flour's off in kind of like a little bit of a swoopy area. Put a little onto my surface. Grab my dough ball, which already actually feels pretty good. But just work it in. And as you feel like you need a little more flour, just spread a little bit more down. And for today, I'm actually going to be making 2 pizzas. So that's going to be fun. So now that our dough ball is actually ready, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly coat the inside of a stainless steel bowl. I'm going to put my dough ball in center. I'm just going to hit it with a little bit of oil. And then we're going to cover it with a nice bar towel. And we're going to stick it in a nice warm spot. And now we're going to do it again for our second dough ball. So while the dough is rising, I'm going to go ahead and prep the rest of it. So one of our pizzas is going to be a margarita pizza. So I don't need to do a whole lot of prepping for it, other than making the sauce, slicing the tomatoes, and slicing the mozzarella. And for that, I'm actually going to be using smoked mozz. I know it's a little untraditional, but I love smoked mozz. For the first pizza we're going to do, we're going to need a shallot, a bunch of mushrooms. We're also going to need several cloves of garlic, artichoke hearts, olives, sun-dried tomatoes. For the margarita pizza, we're going to need a thinly sliced tomato, more sun-dried tomatoes, basil, smoked mozzarella. Now for the sauce, we need more garlic, balsamic vinegar, olive oil, and tomatoes. Once the tomatoes are cut, go ahead and put them into whatever kind of blender thingy that you have. I have a Ninja blender, so that's what I use. Go ahead and add your olive oil directly to it. There isn't really a good measurement that I have for any of this. I just kind of like add till I feel like that's enough. But if I had to guess, it would probably be in between like a 1/4 cup to 1/3 of a cup of olive oil. I like to use about the same amount of balsamic vinegar that I do olive oil, so just kind of guesstimate. It's also a good idea to taste it and see how robust it is. I'm also adding 3 cloves of garlic to this to start. Remember that you can always add more. It's really hard to remove. Once you've blended it, it'll look something like this. Every one of these is a little different, and I'm still working on the recipe to get it to where I want it. But this is my favorite sauce. Once you're done, go ahead and take it out. And go ahead and give it a taste. It's pretty good. Sweet with a bit of the garlic bite to it. Pretty good hint of the balsamic vinegar, but not overly strong. I love the flavor of balsamic vinegar, so I might add just a little bit more to it. And while we wait for our dough to rise, I'm going to go ahead and preheat the oven to 450 degrees with my cast iron Lodge pizza pan in there. And I'm going to saute up the mushrooms and the shallot. Alright, see you in a bit. I have sauteed the mushrooms and the shallot. The oven is preheating to 450 degrees with my Lodge cast iron pizza pan in there. Now it's time to roll out the dough. So, as you can see, I've put down a piece of heavy-duty large aluminum foil. This is how I like to cook it. You can do it direct on if you so choose, but this is my preferred method. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to grab some of the flour left over and I'm going to put it on there. And I'm going to grab some semolina as well. I like to use a mix in between the two. It might be way too much, we'll see. So, Go ahead and mix it together on the aluminum foil. I'm going to grab our dough. I like to work my way out from the middle, trying to leave a good amount on the edges. Now, I prefer kind of a medium thick dough personally. Some people love it thin, some people love it thick. That is really a personal opinion. You can use this dough any way you would like. Once I get it down to about here, I like to pick it up, flip it over. That way, now there are people that can do all the dough tricks, all the pizza flipping. I am not one of those people yet. It's on my list of things to learn. I like to take it all the way out. There's a couple different ways that you can do it so that you can end up with whatever kind of crust you would like. I tend to take it all out flat and then go back through and kind of roll it a little. And just kind of pinch it over. Now, this is not traditional by any means, but it works for me. And once I've done that, I'll kind of just push off any excess flour or anything from it that I can. And kind of just go back through and switch it a little. Alright, looks pretty good. After working the pizza dough, I like to just pour this on there and smooth it out, and I'll actually pre-bake both of them together. Again, this isn't traditional, but I don't have an oven that can reach like 650, 700 degrees like the big pros do, so I'm just using my home oven. Also, again, pretty liquidy. By doing it this way, I actually steam off a lot of the water that's left in there. Now it's ready for its pre-bake. I went ahead and pulled out the Lodge cast iron pizza pan, and I'm just going to slide it right on and put it right in the oven. I've set the timer for 8 minutes, but keep an eye on it because it may need to come out quicker than that. Okay, so I put it in for 8 minutes, but it's been about 5.5, 6 minutes, and I think it's ready to come out and get toppings on. Now I know it doesn't look done, but remember, it's going back into the oven because we're going to put all the toppings on it. Back into the oven, so it still has time to cook. The first thing we're going to put down is our foundation cheese. And the foundation cheese is basically just, you put that down below any of your toppings. It just helps to layer it right. Alright, that looks pretty good on our foundation cheese. Now we're going to go ahead and top it up. This is our mixture of shallot and mushroom. Now if you don't like mushroom or shallot, don't put it on there. You can do whatever you want with your pizza. Now, I've got some sun-dried tomatoes, some artichoke hearts, some olives. Now this, pretty loaded up pizza, to be honest with you. And just kind of fill in the areas that are looking a little loose. And now we go back over it with a little more cheese. Not as heavy as you did on the foundation, but this is like the topping. And now I'm going to put it back in the oven for probably another 5 to 6 minutes. So I just pulled this pizza out of the oven. It was in there for about 5-6 minutes, plus I did about 2 minutes worth of broil on top, just to help crisp it up a little bit. I think it looks pretty good. Might have needed a little bit longer on the base, but I think it's good. Remember that when you pull it out, it's actually still baking itself. So remember that. I'm going to go ahead and set this one aside, and now I'm going to make the second one. Just like the first one. I'm going to go ahead and throw some flour and some semolina, and I'm going to mix it up. And just like before, we're going to add our sauce. And into the oven it goes for its pre-bake. So I just pulled out the margarita pizza. It's doing pretty good. I think it might be a little more well done than I generally like, but I think it's looking pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and cheese it up. There is no particular order to this. Just throw the cheese on as best you can in kind of an orderly fashion. You hear that? I'm being yelled at by a cat. I think she wants the cheese. She cannot have the cheese. This cheese is mine. I went ahead and cut up that entire block of cheese. So I'm just gonna, kind of put it everywhere. It's one of my things about margarita pizzas is like, kind of love the way they do it, but also I want a bite of cheese on every bite, And back into the oven it goes. Alright, I just pulled it out. I think it looks amazing. It is, actually, no. I'm gonna stick with that. It looks pretty amazing. Now, the mozz does hold a lot of liquid to it. So as you see, there is a little bit of water on there. I haven't figured out how to get rid of that yet. As soon as I do, I'll let you know. And if any of you know how to do it, go ahead and put it down in the comments. I would love to know. The last thing to do is to sprinkle some basil on top. Fresh cut basil. And it's done. It's always best to let them sit and rest for about 10 minutes before you cut them. Though, you can do whatever you want to. But I'm going to wait about 10 minutes. I'm going to cut this up and I'm going to eat it. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.